Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers are finalizing a trade.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
It will send wide receiver George Pickens to Dallas.
Or is that what you said?
That's what he said.
Okay.
The Pittsburgh Steelers traded receiver George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys sent the Steelers a third-round draft pick and a late-round swapping of fifths and sixths for the talented ball grabber. Now, I've got to shout out all of the Twitter detectives. They were on the case. CeeDee Lamb posted a cryptic but friendly hello tweet from Ralph Wiggum. And immediately, everyone knew that meant George Pickens was going to the Cowboys. So in a way, Ralph Wiggum broke the news to me. While Cowboys fans seem very excited by the addition of George Pickens, I'll let Ralph Wiggum illustrate how Steelers fans feel heading into the season at the moment with no quarterback and dwindling playmakers.
I'm scared, Daddy. Too scared to even wet my pants.
Can we also get Ralph's thoughts on O.J. Simpson?
I love you because you kill people.
Now, the question becomes, how does this affect Aaron Rodgers and his decision to join the Steelers? We're all assuming that that is definitely happening, but if it doesn't, is this an embrace the tank season for the Steelers? With Pickens landing in Dallas, does that make them a contender again? Plus, there was a mildly surprising release of another NFL receiver. I'm Brandon Perna, this is That's Good Sports. Just 7,000 subscribers away from 750,000. That would be cool. Even cooler, Underdog. We're just 24 signups. 24 signups away from 6,000. At 6,000 signups at Underdog, I get a $60,000 bonus. Gonna share that with Will Keys and Johnny Barks, who helped make this channel run. These are my picks for tonight's Nuggets game. You can play in the Pick'em game on Underdog. I'm going higher on Jokic, higher on Jamal Murray, and higher on Shane Gilgeous-Alexander. If you like daily fantasy or want to get in their Best Ball Mania tournament, do it now with my code TGS or That's Good at Underdog, just 24 signups away. If you've already signed up with my code, make your first play. That counts too. Gabe Davis has been released by the Jaguars. There's a new regime in Jacksonville, and they're making some moves. They traded the farm to draft Travis Hunter, who appears to be ready to play a lot of wide receiver for them. Now they are moving on from receiver Gabe Davis, who they paid $39 million to last offseason on a 3-year deal in free agency. I guess he never made James Gladstone feel like, he needed to create a personal monologue for him.
In achieving what many may deem impossible. Travis Hunter, he embodies belief.
If you want to stay a Jaguar, you gotta make Gladstone feel like this.
And we want him to be nothing more than him. Because when he is, he elevates the space around him.
Here's a thought for Jacksonville, though. Maybe stop paying receivers in free agency. You seem to be a lot better at drafting them. Just a thought. Now, Gabe Davis is the second casualty in the receiving room this offseason, our big one anyway. They traded Christian Kirk to the Texans back in March because of his inflated contract. Now, Gabe Davis was never a 1,000-yard receiver in Buffalo, nor did he ever eclipse 50 receptions in a season, but fuck, that 4-touchdown game against Kansas City all the way back in 2021 sure got him paid. 3 years, $39 million for just 239 yards and 2 TDs in Jacksonville. If he could guarantee another 4-touchdown game against the Chiefs in the playoffs, it would be worth bringing him back to Buffalo, in my opinion. Now, one thing I found interesting about Gabe Davis's career is that his quarterbacks have been picked off 20 times when targeting Davis over his 5-year career, equivalent to 5 picks every 17 games he's played. That might explain why he only got 42 passes thrown his way a year ago. Next to Travis Hunter, he's been the receiver most responsible for picks over the last few years. In hindsight, though, the writing might have been on the wall when the Jags head coach Liam Cohen didn't even make eye contact with Gabe Davis in their first interaction in Jacksonville. He greeted Brian Thomas Jr. like he was a long-lost friend and avoided Davis like he was an incoming call with Tampa Bay area code. One of the big issues with paying Gabe Davis is he was better suited to be a third or fourth wide receiver in an offense, and he didn't get to bring Josh Allen to Jacksonville with him. That could all be fixed, though, with a return to Buffalo, but I'm not convinced that that makes as much sense for the Bills as it does for Davis himself. He's the first receiver I actually want to see go to the Chiefs. If he really does increase quarterback interceptions, do it! Do it to Mahomes! And you, Gabe Davis, you can have the greatest NFL record known to man. Most interceptions for a receiver when targeted. And do it with the Chiefs. The Steelers. How does this George Pickens trade affect the Aaron Rodgers situation with the Steelers? When will Aaron Rodgers arrive at Steelers Station? If you trade a Pickens, and that leaves your receiving room with Slim Pickens, what time do both trains reach their station? According to Ian Rappaport, Aaron Rodgers still destined for Pittsburgh, even with one less weapon to throw to.
If you wondered what Rodgers himself thought might happen, it seems he has been preparing for the future with DK, not as much George Pickens. I'm not sure why. Maybe Pickens was really busy. Maybe he couldn't make it happen. There's plenty of reasons why, but Rodgers has been preparing for Metcalf, and it does seem like that rapport is being built.
According to the old Mike Florio, though, the Steelers could look to trade for current Jets receiver and known friend of Aaron Rodgers, Allen Lazard. Aaron Rodgers getting the Steelers to trade for Allen Lazard would be the funniest thing that could happen. Actually, the funniest thing that could happen would be Pittsburgh trading for Allen Lazard and then Aaron Rodgers selfishly deciding to retire. I've always found it fascinating that someone who believes in reptile people would be so attached to a man named Lazard. I think there's some interesting pieces, though, in the Steelers' receiving room right now. Calvin Austin started to put together some nice games last year. He finished with 548 yards and 4 TDs. Roman Wilson didn't play last season due to an injury, and I think he has the chance to be very good. Apparently, though, there's only room for one R. Wilson at a time in Pittsburgh. Austin and Wilson, they're both undersized ball grabbers. That's a problem. Right now, Robert Woods is listed as the receiver number 2 in Pittsburgh, but this is his 13th season, so as crazy as Lazard sounds, the reason it makes some sense outside of the Rodgers connection is Lazard is a big 6'5" target. Yes, DK Metcalf, also a giant man, but I think you want to have a couple fully grown receivers out there from time to time. If your next two options are Austin and Wilson, who are 5'10" and 5'9", a sizable possession type guy becomes a little more valuable. Lazard's only 29, while Bobby Trees just turned 33. It's going to be a huge blow to ageism when we get a quarterback-receiver connection that's 74 combined years old. Lazard seems like rumor mill shit at this point, but Ian Rappaport suggested the Steelers may go after an unsigned free agent to add to their room. To me, that feels like Amari Cooper could be a very viable option. Gabe Davis, he's clearly available.
I would be surprised if the Steelers are done at the receiver position, likely to at least sign one more, and there are a couple talented receivers still on the market.
Hindsight is obviously 20/20, but knowing that you were considering trading Pickens, it might have made sense to draft at least one receiver, right, Pittsburgh? For a team that hasn't spent a first-round pick on a wideout since 2006, I guess it's not terribly surprising. Whenever they do go after a receiver in the draft, it's just some dude with major character flaws that they got to release or get rid of at some point. They have a great track record at finding that, right?
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Anyway, the whole point of playing quarterback for the Steelers is that it's supposed to be miserable. A miserable experience. So that checks out. And misery loves company. Oh my God, the Steelers are going to Super Bowl with Rodgers. The Steelers knew they weren't going to pay George Pickens, so they got a third-round draft pick for him. If Aaron Rodgers joins the Steelers, then this doesn't make a lot of sense. Rodgers coming in on a one-year deal. You want to give him everything he needs to succeed. I hope Austin or Wilson are great receivers, but the Steelers have a very limited receiving core right now. Aaron Rodgers is a skeptical dude, and if I can't even see how he can win there, how the hell do you expect him to see that? That's why it really feels like the Dallas Cowboys won this trade. Peter Schrager tried to answer the one big question about Pickens on ESPN.
I would like to correct some people. Some people think that he is a diva or he's cantankerous. I talked to the Steelers folks. George Pickens is demonstrative on the field, but he is not an uncoachable player. In fact, he does have a great way about him in the locker room and is very well liked in Pittsburgh.
I think it's a really good sign that no one is trashing Pickens on his way out the door, and it does corroborate what Schrager's saying. Jerry Jones does have a history of getting the most out of rabble-rousers at wide receiver, going back all the way to Terry Glenn and Terrell Owens. Even convicted drug dealer Sam Hurd was a special teams captain for the Cowboys. I think he'll be able to keep George Pickens' head on straight down there in Dallas. Now, this is a low-risk, high-upside, great addition for the Cowboys for this 2025 season. George is in the last year of his contract. Apparently, he's more than willing to play that out in Dallas. Dallas is going to pay him just $3.6 million, which is insanely cheap for a guy with George's skill level on the field. Plus, if Dallas decides to let him walk in free agency after this season, they're going to get a compensatory draft pick if he leaves. The comp pick would most likely be a third rounder, so worst case scenario, this ultimately costs Dallas a swapping of 5th and 6th round picks. The world is changing because the Cowboys actually got proper value in a wide receiver trade. Holy shit, good job Dallas. At least George won't have to be in the same locker room with former Cowboys DB Jordan Lewis, who noted that God must have really wanted him in Jacksonville. If you believe that God truly wants you in Jacksonville, I think that's more than enough reason to renounce your faith in God. If God wants me in any city that looks like a real-life GTA 6, I no longer believe in his plan. Just kidding, I remembered they don't have state income tax in Florida. Faith in God restored.
The place that makes you most happy. Jacksonville, Florida. It's everything I ever dreamed of.
I love the different skill set George Pickens brings to the field for the Cowboys. Contested catches, sideline jump balls, fighting a defender well after a play is over. Dak hasn't had one of those guys in a while. And not to mention how this should free up CeeDee Lamb, who was double-teamed more than Bonnie Blue last year and still managed 1,194 yards. Now we've got the NFL's version of Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips, each going for 1,000 yards, and that reminds me, shit, I need to clear my search history real quick. Never leave your computer open, kids. The worst take might have come from the worst sports show right now, The Facility.
I think the Cowboys just became one of, if not the most balanced offense in all of football, just like that.
The Cowboys will never be balanced. It's their thing. We all know Pickens is insanely talented, but he's inconsistent as hell. For all of his talent and highlight reel catches, he's only got 12 touchdowns in his first 3 seasons. Keep in mind, though, he did catch 6 of Kenny Pickett's 13 TD passes in Pittsburgh in 2022 and 2023. He's basically the Marvin Harrison to Pickett's Peyton Manning. He also hasn't played with a consistent quarterback. He also hasn't had any consistency at the quarterback position. And I think Dak Prescott's going to get the most out of Pickens this year and get Pickens paid. Pickens does have 3 years in the NFL, but he's still only 24 years old. If just a touch of maturity comes with age, the Cowboys might have found themselves one of the more dynamic wide receiver duos in the league this season. If not, it's just a 5th round pick. The Cowboys are so hard to pin down because they make some of the most genius roster moves and also some of the most boneheaded transactions. They're never balanced. They really love keeping us on our toes, and I kind of appreciate that, Dallas. There is one very interesting note to all of this. George Pickens is due for a new contract. His agent, that would be David Mulgeta. Mulgeta you more money. The same agent who represents Micah Parsons, who Jerry Jones infamously recently said he did not know. Keep in mind that Mulgeta currently represents 42 different NFL players, including Parsons and fellow Cowboy Malik Hooker. Excellent work, Jerry. You've done it again. I knew this trade couldn't have been quite as smart as it looked on the surface. Because if you want Pickens, you're getting fucked by that agent you didn't know. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. I'm on YouTube all the freaking time, and I need you to be on YouTube all the time too.
Sweet shithouse mouse.
Seriously, develop a YouTube addiction and just keep watching my videos over and over. Even the old ones. The old videos need love too.